It's episode 4. I didn't think I'd get this far, but we're here and you're welcome. First of all, I'm going to introduce the guests in just a moment, but I want to talk about something that is really troubling me. I'm joking, but something that's like a massive cause for concern is that I figured out, and it was in the very first episode, that I really interrupt people when they speak, and I'm just a straight up terrible listener. So that's one thing that I'm really gonna work on. But what I wanted to say was a shout out to anyone that's listening that knows me, that I've had a conversation with, and just apologies for not listening. And it's something I'm gonna work on. But anyway, moving swiftly. Egla, she's the guest for this episode 4, and she's like a badass entrepreneur. She's a social media consultant. We met because we were doing promotion for a dating app, which is kind of exciting. I2I dating app, download now if you're in London. So that's how we met, and the conversation took place in Shoreditch Park, which is, as I said in my last episode, it's my back garden. I've done a few of these interviews there now, and it's good, it's free, it's open, it's in nature, and there's people kind of walking past at various stages of this episode, which is a nice kind of natural interruption, so it's kind of funny. But if you're listening, what you'll learn in this episode is financial freedom, all about that. If you want to pursue your passion, how you can do that, and how it's really a hustle. But if you love what you do, it makes it a lot easier. So without any further ado, thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy the show. Okay, so
there's a space between us.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to be too close because we're friends. It's recording right now.
Oh.
But we're business and we're professional, You're not going to wait. It's like, because we're in the park, we're in Shoreditch Park. It's Sunday afternoon, and just a while ago we had some dogs barking and birds chirping. So it's nice to get a bit of peace and quiet right now. But just in case anyone listening or watching doesn't know who you are, tell us maybe about your story.
Right, it's actually a very long story, but so I've been always in corporate, working for 13 years, and in December I really came to a point. So I went traveling to Africa with my really good friend Alina, and we were sitting at this beautiful beach, actually in a hotel and overlooking the beach. And we had this conversation. I was getting these emails from work, saying what I need to do when I get back home, and she was saying, and I was being like, oh, why am I getting these emails? I'm just enjoying my holiday. I don't want to get those emails. And she was telling me, but Agla, so you don't like your job? I said, well, I'm not sure about that. And she said, well, why don't you just quit? I said, quit? What do you mean just quit? I can't just quit my job. But then she planted the seed into my brain that when I got back home, actually I was still in my holiday mode, and I had to put myself out straight to the workplace and just be productive. But I was like, no, I really don't want to. And something inside me was being very resistant to that environment. And I really I was like, you know what? I've got some savings. I can live off a couple of months until I figure out what I want to do. And so I gave in my notice. It was a very, very big decision, but I knew I had to do it because I had this thought for a long time, but I think it was just never been told out loud. And when she asked me this, when she said, why don't you just quit, it made me think like, okay, if I quit, what would I like to do? And we spoke to her that I would love to do interviews. I would love to be a presenter. I would love to be in camera. I also like writing and all those things that I didn't utilize at my job, or you didn't implement, into my job, all those skills that I was kind of not giving out, and what I would love to do, and it was really eye-opening moments, especially being, in a completely different continent, far away from home, and it was just kind of like very.
It's a big decision and a massive step, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a big. Yeah. It was a massive step, but at that time when I did it, I didn't feel fear or Many years ago, I always wanted to do something of my own, have a business, but I always have felt that fear. But this time I didn't, and I knew it's right. It's time.
It felt right for you.
Yeah.
And you've been doing this for a couple of months now.
Yeah.
And you're paving your own way, and you're
That's right.
Branding.
Branding. I'm paving my own way. Exactly.
I never expected there's going to be people cycling. We're on a bench here, and there's like a footpath right there. So anything and everything can happen, and there's going to be an old lady just passing by in about 15 seconds, but we'll continue the conversation.
I think so, we should.
We'll keep going.
Nothing phases us, right?
Good afternoon.
I love it how you eased in the audience in. It's great. I think if you tell people what to expect, they will actually expect it, and that's not going to ruin the video at all.
Or I think opposite to that.
If I just
left that old couple just pass, and we're just conversation, and then they see that, they're like, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I was not even mentioning that. Yeah, that would have been funny.
So how's it going for you anyway?
Yeah. So really, when I quit in December, I just took off the whole December to just have Christmas with my family, and then January came, February came. I was still approaching jobs in a creative industry, so that was, kind of a challenge because nobody wanted to hire me. They said you don't have any experience. I always worked in corporate. My last job was in financial technologies, and I was doing marketing, over the last 10 years, but I didn't have the experience in this kind of a creative industries. And then I was like, okay, well, they all tell me, no, you can't work here, but I know I can. I told them, what I can do, and it was a very annoying process, the recruiting process. And you know what? And then I started reaching out to people saying, look, I'm looking for marketing, freelancing jobs or whatever comes up, any project. And my first project did come by word of mouth from a friend of mine, and that's how I was like, okay, you know what? I can do it to more people. I can help more businesses, with my skills. I'm very passionate about startups because I feel like they sometimes don't have the skill needed to promote themselves.
Yeah, they're often the most passionate people because
they are so passionate, and I love that passion.
And you can work with like a larger organization, and the people within that organization, they're getting a good wage, and they've been in their business for maybe 10 years, and so they don't have that fire in their belly, I think, as startups.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of lovely watching that passion, I think.
Yeah.
So say you've been doing this for a couple of months, and you're trying to become more independent. You want to become more flexible and get more freedom in your own life.
Exactly.
But it's also a challenge, isn't it? Just
it is,
in terms of like working hours and trying to manage all the different clients. Is it difficult?
It is difficult. You know what? I recently read someone posted on Facebook a quote that I really loved about entrepreneurship. They said an entrepreneur is the person who works 80 hours so he can work 40 hours later. So you put all that hard work in, you work really crazy hours, but it's fun. I think if it's not fun, it's not worth doing it. This is really my motto. It has become recently because why waste your time or life in something that you don't enjoy doing? So if it's fun, fun is really important for me. Maybe for other people there's something else, so I think even if it's hard, yes, but it's still I'm learning. So getting that knowledge, in researching, for example, if I don't know something, what I need to achieve, like if I'm working on a project and I need to do research in order to deliver value to that client, I'll do research, but it's fun because I'm doing it for myself, and I'm also learning at the same time.
For sure. I mean, if you compare freelancing to working in a 9-to-5 job, I think you're growing and you're accelerating at much a faster rate.
Absolutely.
But there is that added pressure and responsibility, and one thing I think for myself, in a couple of years I'd love to just be able to do my own thing and not be reliant on one source of income, whereby if you lose your job,
that's right.
What are you going to do?
That's right. Job security is it's non-existent. I mean, now there's no such thing as job security. Yes, they can still fire you. They'll give you a month's notice, but they can still fire you. You know what I mean? So it's
how well can you handle yourself?
Yeah.
If you can't be reliant on that job.
And it's never too late or too early to start. You know, even if you're 50 years old or stuck in a corporate job. I know there's a lot of, for example, bankers. They're stuck in this job, and they rely on this luxury lifestyle that the money they earn that provides to them. But you know, and they're scared to take any action. They would love to be more free, but they kind of tied into this job that they don't really enjoy doing. Long hours, but it's good money, you know. So everyone chooses what is good, but I think you can still do it on a side projects that you do love, and who knows, maybe that will become your full-time job in the future, like you know, your business.
So what's manifesting this conversation, the theme seems to be financial freedom.
That's
which
right.
is okay. So what would you think about, say, someone, they're in a 9-to-5 job at the minute, and you know, as I was at the moment, I'm thinking, do I want to be kind of staring at a screen all day, and maybe it's not something that I really connect to. If someone's sitting there at home and they're thinking, you know, I want something different, but I'm kind of scared, what would you say would be like something, a bit of practical piece of advice that they could do so that they can develop something that's, you know, a side hustle or something that's going to develop their skills so that they might be able to do something more into the future?
Yeah, you know, like I really think that just do what you love, because if you love doing something, you'll just keep doing it, and it will come naturally for you to be consistent on that thing. So like you've been doing those videos, podcasts, and you've been consistent on that because you just enjoy doing that, and with time you'll get better. So you know what I mean. So
but it's
I
difficult
do
as well.
these Facebook lives, and you know, I don't still have like professional equipment, but I'm at the point now that I'm thinking, maybe I should now actually invest into the professional equipment. So step by step, it takes time, I think. You know, it's not an overnight thing at all. So it took me, you know, from December to now, which is July, that I feel I already started generating some income from my business, so that I feel like I'm now, I'm properly, you know, making money. So and I can survive just doing what I do. So so it took me 8 months or what, you know. So it's really being patient and not giving up. And even at the times when you think, oh, why would I do that? It's not giving me anything. But actually, think long term, and it does give you things in the future. Yeah.
And so, what would you think, say, in 5 to 7 years for Egla? What's like the ideal scenario? Like, what's happening in your life where you're saying, "Gosh, this is enjoyable"?
Yeah. I do see myself as having a marketing branding agency, definitely working with startups, and someone who's passionate and, you know, helping bring their projects to life. And I think doing that would really make what makes my heart be like, oh, warm and fuzzy, you know. So it makes me happy. And also doing a lot of like interviews like this. I just love exploring and hearing about other people's passions, and you know, finding out what they're all about. And yeah, like I said, I do love being on front of the camera because my background is performing arts. So I used to be a dancer, and I used to do some acting and stage presenting for events. So I really missed that when I came to London. I think it all kind of, you know, stopped. So I was doing bits and pieces here and there. So yeah, I would love to do more of that.
So that's kind of your business background. So then talk to me about the importance of just letting loose and having a bit of fun, because you know, it can be difficult, and it can be so time consuming and challenging. And you know, you quit your job and you were working 40 hours, for example, and then you end up working like 60 hours being an entrepreneur. How do you find time to kind of just be at peace?
That's a very good question. I'm not a very balanced person right now in terms of that, because I just work. But things like this, for example, for me, it's already fun. Like I already enjoy that, you know. So you know, but going out to clubbing, I already find that this is just a waste of my time. Whereas before, you know, when I was maybe 20 or 25, yes, I would love to go clubbing every weekend, or you know, and that was fun for me. So I think
But you love what you do, so that
Yeah,
makes it easier.
yeah, exactly. It makes
So
it
it
fun.
doesn't feel like work for you so much.
Exactly.
So maybe that's it.
Yeah.
If you can find something that you actually enjoy doing.
Yeah. And anyone can do that. Anyone can tailor their life around their passion. Then you'll never feel like you're working.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
it. It's difficult because
It is.
most people if you're working the 9 to 5 and you've worked so hard, and maybe it's something that you've been working so hard that you need to let loose in the weekends. You need to just go for it.
If you work 9 to 5, that's exactly what was happening, and I don't think you can do a business like a proper startup and work 9 to 5, because it requires a lot of energy. It requires a lot of determination, because it is hard. You give yourself away for 8 hours to something that you not necessarily love doing in the office. You put in that cage, and then you have to come back home and put your mindset into doing something that you love, but you don't have energy left for that, so it's really, really hard. I can really sympathize with that. But I think what one of my friends told me, he said he's actually an acupuncturist, and what he was saying was very interesting. He said some people have a big jar of energy and some people have a small jar of energy, which means that it's genetic, so it comes from your parents, what they've kind of had. So if you have a small jar of energy, no matter how hard you try, you probably will never reach, like what other people reach. So, but you have to know yourself and be okay with that. You can sustain your energy by eating well, exercising well, and doing all those things like meditation, to have your mind, your everything in order, so you are calm and you're thinking clearly, and then you will have that more energy to concentrate on other stuff. But if you're stressed at work 9 to 5, that's
difficult,
not going to work, and that's what I realized. I was too stressed, and that was just the point where I really had to make a decision. And you can always go change jobs into something less stressful, and then carry on doing your passion, or your startup,
And in terms of startups and entrepreneurs, it can be difficult. For example, you're quite comfortable in front of camera, and you have the ability to document what you're doing via. She does a lot of like Facebook lives and things like that. Are quite fun.
Yeah.
But
we just done one.
we did one this morning.
Yeah.
And it's thrilling, but it can be nerve-wracking as well if you haven't done it before, and intimidating, I think.
Yes.
But then once you do it, it's like if you can dominate what's bringing you the most fear, it's the thing that will make you grow the most.
Yeah.
And that was me before, when I was maybe just 2 years ago. I had like a massive fear about presenting in front of people.
Yeah.
But then once you can conquer that, and you've done it a few times, it's like really empowering. But say for someone that's like an entrepreneur and they have their little business, but they're maybe a bit scared of sharing what they're doing in front of the world with regard to social media. What would you think would be like a good step for them? Should they start just doing little videos, or should just
like what we spoke exactly, that there's different mediums, so they can, yes, they can be in front of the camera, but also they can just, if they're good at writing, they can write blogs. And this is also very powerful, because we constantly Google, we search things, how to, or advise so if you write a really engaging content, and you provide advice or value, top tips, how to, for example, that's also very powerful. But going back to videos, I think it's important to push yourself, and it's great that some people are so scared and they just say, oh, I'm not going to ever do that. So I would say never.
Justin Bieber.
Yeah, that's what my dad used to say. Never say never, Agla. So I remember that.
It's a good piece of advice.
But you know what? I think when I was 25, I remember that age, because that was the age when I was really coming out of my shell, like becoming really the person I am today. And I did an acting course. It was a course, actually, and what I got out of that was so powerful that I remember till this day. We did, like eye to eye as well. It was a very it was just a thing that I was not able to do before, like just simply staying in someone's eyes. And then and it showed me that actually it's okay. We're all human beings. We all feel weird. Sometimes we think what other people will think of us, and
everyone's vulnerable.
Everyone's,
if you share your vulnerability,
even the most confident person, you know, you can still, they can still feel something inside, right? They just probably done this thing so many times that they just, you know, subdued those fears and they don't feel them anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where can people find out a bit more about you? Are you on social media?
Yeah.
She's on social media.
I am all across
Check
social
her out
media.
on Instagram. I'll link everything in the show notes.
Okay.
But it's been beautiful. It's a Sunday afternoon. We're just chilling out in the park.